Hi, everybody. I felt inspired to come on and speak to something really interesting that's happening with Hecate and Venus today. But first of all, before I go there, just wondering how everyone's feeling after the lunar eclipse. I personally feel this particular lunar eclipse is probably, if not the, one of the most powerful lunar eclipses of my entire life. And that's a big statement, but it is absolutely true for me. I literally stayed up the whole night while the eclipse was taking place. I did not look at it because through experience I have discovered that looking at eclipses is not not the best thing to do on a spiritual level, for lack of a better word. The ancients, were very aware of this as well. It's not necessarily the wisest thing. I know it's spectacular to witness visually, and at some point in your life, you probably have to at least see one or two, both solar and lunar. But ideally, it would be better to be in some type of meditation, stillness, some kind of ritual practice, clearing, cleansing, saging, bathing, sparring, whatever, whatever you feel works for you and that you have access to as well. So I was awake all night till pretty much till it ended. And I can honestly say that I felt tremendous release taking place for hours. It was the most intense experience, actually. And, when I spoke with Ruman the other day, we talked about the lunar eclipse. And if you haven't watched that video, I suggest you do because it is well worth it. One of the things that he said, um, which I found really potent as I was sitting through this eclipse last night. This is the Babylonian chart, right? For the eclipse. And if you look up here, well, perhaps I'll just grab an arrow just to highlight, because I know this chart can be a bit tricky to follow if you're not used to it. So there's the moon, okay? And it's in the constellation of Aquarius, okay? The background is Aquarius, and specifically the waters of Aquarius. If you are familiar with the picture of Aquarius, it's a human of some kind holding a cup where waters are coming out, and those waters are consciousness. Their spiritual consciousness is what they are. So this lunar eclipse lined up with that part of the constellation of Aquarius, although it was in the tropical sign of Pisces. And Ruman did say that, this particular lunar eclipse holds so much energy in it for clearing the biggest, sort of the biggest clearing maybe that we've ever had. Very, 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 very powerful. And especially for those that are, attuned to it, consciously working with the cycles of the moon or eclipses or their birth chart or their life or their consciousness or their heart or their soul. People working on themselves, people who are aware of what's going on internally as well as externally, trying to navigate through that and understand it with wisdom, things like that, right? So for those that are really intuitive and attuned to these energies, this was one of the most extraordinary portals for one of the biggest releases. And as I said, I literally felt it for many, many hours. And I just wondered how all of you are feeling as well, which is another reason I jumped on. And also, I just wanted to mention very quickly, this was just a short little presentation. If you look at Venus, she's at 16 degrees of Leo. And this is the other very important thing that Ruman and I spoke about in our video the other night. I think the day before the eclipse, we did that video. Venus at the moment is in Leo in the sky, okay? Tropical Leo, Babylonian Cancer. And Venus is a morning star at the moment. She's in her morning star cycle. She became the morning star on the equinox, March the 23rd, I think it was, 22nd, somewhere around there. And when Venus transitions from one star to another star, that in this case she was transitioning out of her evening star phase into her morning star phase. And I've spoken about this so much, but we brought it up again because Roman explained something highly, highly significant in the video we did the other day, and I'll just touch on it now. Because Venus did not disappear out of the sky during her transition. Normally, when she transitions from one point to the other, she disappears out of the sky. There's two different times when she does that. One's a shorter passage, one's a longer passage. Either way, every 8 years, she goes through this passage where she doesn't disappear at certain latitudes on the planet. And it happened in the Northern Hemisphere this time round. So when Venus does not disappear, as she's transitioning out of evening star into morning star, the the metaphysical and astronomical phenomena around that is so potent and so powerful because it literally means that Venus's energy from her evening star phase comes with her into her morning star phase. So she is loaded, potent with so much power and so much energy, and is carrying with her the journey of her evening star experiences. She's bringing that in with her into her morning star phase. And Roman explained that that's a very powerful signature for some of the world's greatest artists that we've had throughout history, for example, were born during such a juncture. We had that this year in our lifetime, in our experience, which is quite an extraordinary phenomena. So Venus is very, very powerful as we speak. She will remain visible and a morning star until sometime December this year, where in December she will actually become invisible and then she will transition into her evening star phase early next year. But the point is, right now, she is extremely potent and is clearly working on so much for all of us. So, Venus in our own life for all of us. Matters of the heart, matters of love, matters of relationships, matters of art, creativity, the material, money world, etc. If you want to look at that side of things as well, which never appeals to me, but I understand that it's part and parcel of this physical experience, and people, of course, are interested in that as well. But this is, this is really speaking to Venus not disappearing and carrying this energy with her. She's just so potent. All things Venus, everything she's working through as she's traveling around your chart. And today, at the 16th degree, she just happens to be forming an exact square to the goddess Hecate, which is at 16 degrees of Scorpio as well today. I'll just show you. So this is an ephemeris online, which you can find yourself for free. It's just called Asteroid Ephemeris Generator. And if you look at the date here, 8th of September, 16 degrees Scorpio. Okay, so that places her in a square position to Venus. Now, I felt into this energy this morning with certain things that I've been working on, and something very important happened this morning for me, and when I like, I'd love to tell you, but it's so private and personal, so unfortunately I can't share it publicly. But I'd love to, because it would help you understand just how literal it is. But if you can just think about it like this, we're talking about Venus, where at the moment she's so extremely potent and powerful, and she's working, on matters of the heart, Venus in Leo, and forming a square to Hecate in Scorpio. Whilst the square, implies friction or conflict or tension, it's also, just an incredibly dynamic, powerful energy, which ultimately leads to some kind of change. That's what square aspects do. They create change because, very simply put, the situation that the square aspect might be describing in your life is a situation that basically needs to change. Okay, and there's it's probably quite a difficult situation, and it's difficult to change it. So these type of energies, when they come into a square aspect, they force the change to occur, as it were. Now, in this case, what are we talking about? We're talking about Venus and Hecate, two feminine divinities. Venus is, at her one of her most powerful, potent positions at the moment. Furthermore, I'll just need to circle back to something before I go back into Hecate. The other thing that Rumen and I discussed were that because the position that Venus is in at the moment, and also because she did not disappear out of the sky when she transitioned from evening to morning star, he said that basically at this point in time, until December, until she disappears in December, you can think about it like this: the last 8 years, which is a cycle that relates to Venus as well, the last 8 years, whatever has happened in our life the last 8 years, we are now experiencing, receiving, seeing, feeling the fruits, rewards, or could be difficulties, right? To the last 8 years. So, in other words, the action that we have taken towards certain things, things that we have participated in, and so forth, we are seeing the fruits to that now, at the moment, this year. So there's a lot coming up for all of us, so much that it's very difficult to try and encapsulate it in language and just articulate it in a 10-15 minute presentation. But I'm just speaking to the major highlights so that you can consider this for yourself. So you can think about the last 8 years. What is happening this year is a result of that. Venus is extremely powerful because she did not disappear, and she's holding the vibration, the energy, the power of both evening and morning star in her current transit. And the lunar eclipse just happened last night, which was in the waters of Aquarius, the constellation of Aquarius, but in tropical Pisces, very close to Saturn as well. And Saturn only recently, went back into Pisces. So clearly showing us that we are, really at a pivotal point in our life where we are totally, utterly, and totally releasing so many chapters and so many things from the past. That's what this lunar eclipse is about and was about last night. And today, with Venus squaring Hecate, matters of the heart, relationships, connections with certain people, Hecate acts here as a way of assisting us to process and have the courage and make a decision and make a change on something that maybe we have been going around in circles with, right? That could be, a partner, a friendship, any type of relationship, because Venus corresponds to any type of relationship. So Hecate is a goddess of magic. She's a goddess that corresponds to the underworld, meaning the unconscious. She corresponds to the dark moon phase. She has three different faces. So she's a triple goddess divinity. She has all these symbols that reflect the different powers that she has in her magic toolbox, one of them being a torch. And so, she was the one that led Persephone, out of the underworld into the upper world with her torch, because the underworld is dark, right? And Persephone couldn't find her way out. She couldn't see where she was going. It was actually Hecate that came there and assisted her back out into the upper world consciousness, the light. So Hecate is a very, very, very powerful goddess divinity, not to be messed with. And she's very, very well known for people who are into magic. Now, magic has many different layers and levels and perspectives. I'm not going to unpack that in this video. But, any energy at the end of the day can be used, manipulated, used, for one's own personal take and advantage, or in negative or dark ways, really, at the end of the day. So it is up to us, our consciousness, how we work with the energy and how we integrate the energy. Now, some people might use Hecate for for sinister purposes. And I certainly don't advocate for that at all because, look, whatever we do, it does come back. It's as simple as that. So, look, Hecate squaring Venus at the moment is, you can think about it like this. She is shining her torch, all right, into unconscious matters within ourself that have to do with our heart, with relationships, with maybe our approach to love, maybe our approach to relationships, maybe the type of partners we've attracted, we've pulled in, for our entire life or the last decade or whatever it's been. She's shining the light on aspects in our own unconscious where we can actually, we are given an opportunity to see into zones and areas within ourself that we otherwise couldn't. So that's the magic right there. It's very difficult. I mean, think about it. Can you go to somebody and say, "Oh, I'm just going to open up your brain. I'm just going to cut your head open up your brain and have a look into your unconscious." Are you going to find the unconscious there? You're not. So where does the unconscious exist? It's not a physical thing, right? So these symbols, they describe these metaphors and ways of understanding of how we tap into the unconscious, for instance. So Hecate squaring Venus is a great opportunity to look into those sorts of components of our own heart, of our self, Venus in Leo, where we might really want to do a proper cutting, proper clearing, proper releasing in conjunction with the lunar eclipse that's just occurred as well. And this story in the sky, is very personal to me and has tremendous meaning for me and has had such a big impact, which is why I decided to come and speak to this today, because the energy of Venus and Hecate, look, it's been there for the last few days anyway, and it will be there for a few more days. But today is the most potent because they are both at the same degree. And Venus will start separating from the square to Hecate because Venus moves faster, I think, is it? Let me see. Where's my... Just see what degree she's at tomorrow, Hecate. Yeah, Venus is moving just a little bit faster. Not they're practically, sort of toe to toe, but let me just see. So tomorrow Venus is nearly 18. Yeah, Venus is moving faster. For example, tomorrow is the 10th, not tomorrow, say the 10th of September, where Venus is nearly 19 of Leo. On the 10th of September, Hecate is 16, right? So, about 3 degrees or so difference between the two of them. Venus is moving faster. So, Venus is separating away from Hecate. These are technical details, but they are important because they explain to us and show us the range of energy and when it is most potent, which is today. So that's all I wanted to share with you guys. I hope that this speaks to somebody out there and it helps them in some kind of way, because that was the whole point of speaking to this. So I'll leave that with you, and I hope you are all doing really well, and I hope you are have been able to work, you know, with these energies, with this eclipse and this Hecate Venus energy, in a way that is really pure and authentic and real, for you, for your heart and your soul and the journey that you are on. Because that lunar eclipse in the Aquarius waters, that is really powerful, really powerful. So feel into it, even though the eclipse has passed, the energy is still extremely potent. So I'll see you all very soon. Reach out if you would like to speak with me, connect with me, do chart work, classes, whatever, anything you need. Okay, much love to everybody.